Jack, do we have some Texas fight or some Texas music? The Longhorns have won the Directors' Cup. Won the Directors' Cup for the third time in 4 years. That is overall athletic department achievement at the highest level in the country. We know they were the dominant, athletic department in the SEC in their first year, but now it's official. They are the dominant athletic department in the country, and they did it by you talk about what do they call it? The hair of your chinny chin. Just edged out USC. Texas finishes the athletic calendar 2024 fall, 2025 spring with 1,255.25 points. Okay, USC finished with 1,253.75. So a very, very slim margin. And Jack, you can give a huge round of applause to the Texas women's athletic department because they are really the reason. Because the way they do this, and I'm looking at the scorecards right here, you get points for every team, right? For every team your athletic department competes in, and if you get win the national championship, you get 100 points. If you finish second, you get 90 points. If you finish third in the country, you finish with 85 points, and it cascades down from there. Well, the Longhorns finished number one in the country in men's swimming and diving, which earned them 100 points. They finished first in softball with the national championship from last weekend. That gave them 100 points. The other highest scoring programs in the athletic department this year, rowing finished third on the women's side. That was 85. Football, Steve Sarkisian and company finished third overall, so that got them 85. Women's swimming and diving third, which is 85, and then men's tennis third overall with the 83 points. So it stair-stepped down from there. But and this was a year in which women's volleyball finished ninth. That's low for them, for Jared Elliott's team. That's pathetic. Yeah, come on now. Step it up.
Sweet 16, we're better than that.
Yeah, and so that got 64 points with a ninth place finish. The least performing department,
men's hoops?
Men's basketball, 65th they finished overall rated, so they got 5 points for the men's basketball.
So we were the best team that got eliminated in the first four?
Yes.
Let's go.
I guess I don't know how they come out with the final ranking, but the men's basketball team finished 65th. Well, men's basketball USC finished
first team out.
Unranked.
Sure.
So they got 0.
And they could have used Bronny for one more year.
Yeah. But yes, those are the criteria. Texas 2 national championships, men's swimming and diving and softball. That really catapulted them. Women's basketball finished third overall. How about that? Texas football and women's basketball both finished third, which netted them 85 points in the Directors' Cup rankings. So congratulations to the Longhorns. Chris Del Conte, it's an overall achievement for the athletic department, safe to say. There you go. And it was really close because USC came hard. They had a great showing at the track and field championships, and they only finished like 2 points behind. Stanford was only 4 points behind Texas. So those 3, 1, 2, and 3 for the national championship. Football, we're going to talk to Jerry Hamilton next hour. Jerry, of course, from On Texas Football. Recruiting cap. We'll talk about the 2 big recruiting weekends and what's come of it. Longhorns had a bunch of top recruits across from the nation in town this weekend. We'll let Jerry weigh in. But speaking of top recruits, remember the 5-star wide receiver Ryan Wingo from a couple years ago? He's from St. Louis, Missouri, and he had a football camp this weekend back home in St. Louis, which is kind of cool. And guess who showed up? Arch Manning showed up to support his buddy, Ryan Wingo. Colin Simmons was there. Listen to Ryan Wingo on why he wanted to have a youth camp for the kids back in his hometown.
It put a smile on my face, for them to have a smile on their face and see, like I said, see people like Arch Manning, see people like Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons was the best freshman in the country last year, so be able to see people like that, like I said, be around them is super big.
I think anytime you can get a chance to give back, and when Ryan asked me to come to this a couple months ago, it was a no-brainer just because he's such a good guy. I know he'd do the same for me.
All right, so there you go. A little football camp. That's a good time. So they get back home. We'll talk to Jerry Hamilton next hour. But, as we're inside 80 days now to the college football season, Jack, and I mentioned, you ever pay attention to the Kelley Ford rankings, the Kelley Ford ratings? He's an analytics guy, does a real good job. And over the last 4 or 5 years, the K Ford rankings that he does and ratings have been as on point as any in the country. It's just metrics and college football analytics. But he is now out, Kelley Ford, with his ratings for the 2025 college football season. And he has Texas as the odds favorite to win the SEC. And listen to him. He was on a podcast over the weekend that I saw. Kelley Ford was talking about how this shakes out and how close it is at the top of the SEC. This is for projected wins in SEC play. Of course, the Longhorns and everybody in the SEC only playing 8 games this year. But listen to Kelley Ford from the Kelley Ford ratings on why Texas, he has the Longhorns at 6.7%, or excuse me, an average chance to win 6.7 or more games. So essentially, he has them going 7-2, or 7-1 in conference play, possibly 6-2 in the SEC. His ratings, the Kelley Ford ratings, Jack, say Texas has a 20% chance of winning 8, 60% chance of winning at least 7 ball games, which is the most in the SEC over Alabama and Georgia. Here is Kelley Ford on how the ratings shake out and why Texas is the favorite.
I know it's very tempting to just look at the rank and the team number and say, okay, Kelley's saying Texas is going to win the SEC and they're going to beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. That is what my model is projecting right now as the most likely outcome. However, what I really like to do when looking at this is look at that average number. That's what is the model saying is the average number of regular season conference games that each team is going to win. So you can see Texas 6.7. So 6.7 wins, 1.3 losses over the course of the 8-game schedule. Alabama 6.1, but Georgia 6.0. So right now, the difference for me in my model, looking at Alabama's 8-game conference slate and Georgia's, adjusting for their own power rating and their power ratings of their opponents, right, is only 0.1. So it's really, I would say any of those top 3 teams, I would consider favorites to make it to Atlanta. Then there's a little bit of a gap, right? It's down to 5.2 for LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, all right there in that mix. I throw Texas A&M in kind of that second grouping as well. So really that top 7 is a little bit separated then from that bottom 9. And so South Carolina then brings in that next group with Auburn, Missouri, Florida, and I throw Oklahoma in there. Then Arkansas is kind of by themselves a little bit, maybe Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, but the bottom 4 are certainly kind of in that grouping by themselves. So that's what I really encourage people to do is look at that average number, and then you can see over there farther to the right, what's the percent chance that each of these teams wins X number of conference games. So, all
right, so the Kelley Ford ratings, the K Ford ratings, they call them Texas, 6.7 chance or 6.7 projected victories in SEC play. That doesn't take into account the non-con, but you assume Texas is going to win 3 of their 4 non-conference games. The Ohio State game's a coin flip to start the year on August the 30th. But if they go 10-2, they're going to be in the college football playoff and be playing in Atlanta for the SEC title. So Texas, Alabama, and Georgia almost A and B, 1A, 2A, and 2A, 2B as far as the second best teams. Then LSU and Ole Miss. Listen to Kelley Ford on the Texas defense. As we've said on this spot many times, I have a chance to be the best defense in the country. And he actually adds the caveat versus the offenses they're going to face in 2025. Texas could be the number 1 defense across the land.
Yeah, I can. And candidly, Mike, we talk about K Ford ratings, the model, Kelley Ford, the person. I was a little surprised that Texas was the number 1 team in my version 1 of the 2025 preseason power ratings. I thought Ohio State or Georgia or, even Alabama was going to be, in contention for that. I thought maybe Texas is number 3 behind the Dogs in Ohio State, but put in all the numbers and this is what has come out as Texas is the number 1 team. And, I think they have the best defense in college football. I mean, I'll start right there. I think this defense, and they were number 2 for me a year ago, they're going to be among, if not the best unit on that side of the ball in the entire country. And I think that combined with this upcoming stat, Mike, how many times on this show just today have I talked about that they're playing the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th most difficult collection of opposing blank? Texas plays the 43rd most difficult collection of opposing FBS offenses. So it's among the easier opposing offenses at the Power 4 level that anybody has. Combine that with the fact that Texas has the number 1 defense, I'm not sure how many points Texas is going to be giving up on a week-in, week-out basis.
All right, so there's K Ford, and that's what we've said. Texas fans are excited about Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo, who we just heard from. This offense isn't going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting, against, as he said, the 43rd rated offenses they're going to face in the country, right? I mean, Ohio State, they have a brand new quarterback. San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston. Florida and DJ Lagway will be one of the more dynamic offenses. Oklahoma was dreadful offensively last year, but they've added John Mateer at quarterback, and Kentucky's not a good offense. Mississippi State, not a good offense. Vanderbilt with Diego Pavia. Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M. There aren't a lot of heavyweight offenses in there, and that's his point. You have the number 1 defense and maybe the most talented defense in the country against what he has rated out of his number crunching as the 43rd most difficult offensive schedule. this could be, as we've said, like those Georgia defenses, Michigan a couple years ago, Ohio State last year. The number one defense in the country typically wins the national title. At least they have in the last half decade, and defense still wins championships.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the team, I mean, obviously you have the 3 big road games, but other than that, you're pretty
But
good
defense
at home.
travels.
Defense, exactly.
Defense travels. That'll give you a chance to win all those games, and if you win one of them, 2 of them, you're going to be playing in Atlanta for the college football or for the SEC title, and if you do that, you're playing in the SEC in the big tournament. So.
God bless John Mateer, but they're going to have to run an option offense at Oklahoma.
Jack, what's your adjective for the Rafael Devers trade that came down late yesterday? If you were watching Sunday Night Baseball, the Giants were playing the Dodgers. And the trade came down. Here's Jeff Passan, ESPN insider, pretty much announcing the trade to Carl Ravitch and Tim Kirkjian and the crew on Sunday Night Baseball. The Giants are going for it in the National League West, acquiring the 3-time All-Star.
And Sean Jelly did. Let's bring our baseball insider Jeff Passan in for a conversation. What's the overarching kind of message about this type of deal from both teams?
Carl, I think it's very simple. Rafael Devers, after all that had happened with Boston this spring, the move from third base to DH, then them wanting him to play first base, did not want to be in Boston anymore, and the Red Sox saw this as an opportunity to get rid of more than $250 million that he was owed, and the San Francisco Giants are taking on every penny of his remaining contract that runs through 2033. At the same time, the Red Sox in Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks get a couple of arms. They're also getting James Tibbs, the first-round pick from the San Francisco Giants last year, 13th overall out of Florida State, as well as one more prospect. Regardless of the mechanics of this deal, Carl, it is a shocker. The timing is shocking. The magnitude of the player is shocking. And again, Rafael Devers was supposed to be the guy that Boston was building around in the future, and now he's going to be a San Francisco Giant.
All right, so there's Jeff Passan breaking it down. You could hear the game going on. This happened during the game as the Giants swing big and bring in Rafael Devers. They need offense. And look, I mean, Jack, the team's feeling that, they signed into a $313 million contract. He's a really good player, but the responsibilities of that, you're the team leader. You're asking you were the worst third baseman statistically in the American League last year. You signed Alex Bregman. They're able to get him. Tigers were in hot. Detroit, of course, a real good team. They wanted Bregman, and for A.J. Hinch, the Red Sox make the move, bring him in. All they're doing is asking Devers to move to first base or play DH, and he won't do it.
He will not.
He will not do it.
A Gold Glover on the roster.
Yeah.
With Alex Bregman.
And you're the worst. The statistics would tell you're the worst fielder in the American League at that position. You're costing them runs. They add payroll to go for it. And we know this about Boston, too. They have one of the best farm systems in all of Major League Baseball. They just brought up Roman Anthony, the number one prospect in the game. And they don't want this example in their locker room. Trust me that. They don't want this guy who's a me guy in their locker room. And I understand he's a really good player. And I understand Mookie Betts left for nothing. And this is another cornerstone guy.
Yeah.
But, at some point, it's about what's best for the team. And he refused to do what was best for the ball club, even though he's making $300 million. I mean, I understand the ownership saying, can we get out from under this? We got young guys coming. They don't need this kind of model. Yes, he's great in the middle of our order, but we'll get that rectified. And the Giants jumped on it. They need offense. They need a middle-of-the-order hitter. So, might be one of those good things for both sides. But the Red Sox, trade another cornerstone player.
Yeah, there is somewhat of a Luka parallel here.
Luka Doncic?
Yes, in the sense that, hey, you could have driven up the price. Nobody knew that he's available. The trade deadline is in, 6 weeks. I feel like you could have waited this out, and
I'm sure they talked to other people, unlike the Mavericks. So we'll hear the story of that, because this thing came down just last night as the U.S. Open was wrapping
6
up.
p.m. or so.
Yeah, the Sunday Night Baseball game was getting going. But we'll hear more on that. I'm assuming they talked. But to me, the biggest thing was getting out from under the entire contract. You had to find somebody who would eat it all. Yeah. $250 million remaining on the deal. Yeah, the prospects are important. I mean, 2 pitchers, and as you heard, the number one pick they had this past year. So you get some, and they already have a ton of young talent coming in Boston.
And they're going to be selling at the deadline now? You don't think Alex Bregman will be there much longer?
Yeah, and I know my Red Sox fans are probably bumming because they just swept the Yankees. They're starting to get, they had 2 good weekend series with the Yankees in a row. Maybe starting to make a move, and then they trade Devers. But I think they're going to look at it as addition by subtraction. Whereas the Luka parallel, that's fair, but at the same time, Rafael Devers is not Luka Doncic in my mind. He's a good player.
No. And that doesn't really exist in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Trout's the best player of a generation, and he's made, one playoff series?
I would just say, we didn't talk about it a lot because the NFL was happening still in April, but when he refused to move in spring training, move positions, I was like, this guy's going to get traded. I mean, if they can find a team, look, if the team comes to you in spring training, this is when you do these things, right? Coming off the offseason. Hey, look, the way things fell, we ended up with Bregman. This is a great get for us. With you combine Bregman, this young talent that's coming, these top prospects that are hitting the big leagues right about now. This is going to be a great run, and all we need you to do is go over to first base or play some DH. And not only did he refuse to do it, he did it publicly. I mean, he made a ridiculous scene of it, the whole thing, in my opinion, for a guy making $300 million. Bregman was saying all the right things, like, yeah, I'll play anywhere. I don't care. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to come in and step on toes. But, I mean, that was the idea. Once we get Bregman, now we have a huge upgrade defensively at third base and a big bat. Now we can have the corners and put Devers back at first, and the guy won't do it. I was thinking at the time that they're going to trade that guy, or they're going to try to trade him, because when you have all this young talent coming, that's not the example you want in the locker room. Not the type of player you need when you're trying to chase the Yankees down and be there with the Tigers and the Astros in the American League.
Yeah, but it is funny to trade him to the Giants. I mean,
get him out of the league, yeah.
Their best player is a third baseman.
Yeah.
His OPS is over 800. His OPS plus is 134. Matt Chapman might be a better defender than Alex Bregman. So it's odd to trade.
Are they going to get him to move?
The exact situation, except the third baseman's even better.
It just felt like it was a selfish move by Devers, but Devers was making $300 million and kind of like, no, I'm not moving. I'm not moving. You signed me to play third base. I'm going to play third base. Well, okay, this is the ultimate. It reminds you, what's the movie Major League from the 80s with the left, the big contract third baseman, Corbin Burns, whatever the guy's name was. He wouldn't move up, he couldn't field, and, making the big contract. And remember the manager, pees on his contract at one point during the movie. That's what I'm thinking. Like, get rid of this guy. I mean, come on, man. Red Sox make the big move. Astros sweep the Twins, walk-off fashion. Astros 11 over 500 now. We'll talk more about that coming up.